It is 4 a.m. Gaza time, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, 6 p.m. on the West Coast, where Joe Biden now in Washington is likely sleeping after another long weekend at the beach. But it wasn't just any regular weekend off for Joe Biden. According to reports, he's now worried, sick, that apparently we are on the verge of a much broader conflict in the Middle East, and he has good reason to worry. As we speak, the all-powerful USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier strike group is now positioned just off the coast of Israel. Another carrier strike group, the USS Eisenhower, that is steaming through the Persian Gulf to assist American troops in Iraq and Syria who have been under constant attack from Iranian proxies. A shocker once again for the past 2 weeks. Meanwhile, U.S. military advisors, they are now on the ground. They are in Israel tonight. This also includes a 3-star general from the Marine Corps. The British Royal Navy is also deploying ships to the region, and there are reportedly now 6 Chinese warships in the area. Yeah, things are escalating. This is a very troubling situation, to say the least. If America wants to avoid a global war, we will need clear, determined leadership, moral clarity, something we are not getting from Joe Biden and his administration. Instead, we are getting stall tactics. We're getting confusion and mixed messages. On his way to the beach on Friday, Biden seemingly told Israel to delay its invasion. Take a look. Now, a short time later, the White House walked back that statement and said that Biden misheard the question. But then again today, Biden seemed to once again double down, floating a ceasefire if American hostages are returned. Take a look.
Is the U.S. supporting the hostages for a ceasefire deal?
Why did you?
We should have a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire, we should have those hostages released. And then we can talk.
Now, could you imagine if a world leader floated a ceasefire 2 weeks after 9/11/01? Israel has every right and, frankly, an obligation to defend their people, eliminate Hamas, prevent Gaza from being a launching pad of tens and tens and tens of thousands of rockets into Israel. The same thing, by the way, with Lebanon to the north and Hezbollah. But Joe Biden, he's been playing both sides. My sources in Israel, they have been very clear. He's saying one thing publicly and something else very differently behind the scenes. He says Israel has a right to self-defense, but is reportedly attempting to stall the ground invasion into Gaza. He's sending military advisors to Israel and $100 million to the Palestinians, which we know will end up in the hands of Hamas, the terrorist organization. So tonight, Biden is not just literally waffling because of his inherent weakness, but also because of his internal strife inside his own party and inside that crazy brain of his. And by the way, that's Democrats, including members of Congress, are supporting terrorist groups whose stated goal and platform is the destruction of Israel. And meanwhile, their friends in the media mob, they are all too happy to vilify Israel with Hamas straight-out propaganda. And today, well, give some credit to the New York Times. They admit that they, quote, relied too heavily on claims by Hamas following a blast in a parking lot. It never hit the hospital in Gaza, caused by a misfire from, that's right, another Iranian-backed terror group, the Islamic Jihad. Now, this is the same New York Times now publishing articles about the conflict in Gaza from, an anti-Semitic so-called journalist with a history of praising Hitler and the Nazis? Okay. Now, sadly, the New York Times is not the only Hamas sympathizer in the American press. Reuters, fake news CNN, the Associated Press all publish Hamas propaganda as fact. The AP, which is a disgraceful far-left organization, they won't even let their reporters refer to Hamas as a terror group. And apparently the AP thinks that beheading kids, raping young women, torturing grandma, killing innocent young kids at a concert, taking hostages, that's just part of the, quote, resistance. And on cable news, forget it. It's worse than ever. According to reports, MSDNC, they had temporarily pulled 3 of their Muslim anchors off the air last week because of an apparent because of apparent anti-Semitism concerns. But as Mediaite.com reports, one of them is, quote, back on the air and, quote, as anti-Israel as ever. Last week, we had Mehdi Hassan. I don't even know this guy. Appeared on an MSNBC show where he literally compared Israel to Russia while giving Hamas, the terror group, a free pass. Luckily, it was a show that very few people have ever watched, hosted by some guy named, I don't know, Christopher, somebody Hayes. I doubt many of you have ever heard of this person. Another MSDNC liar, conspiracy theorist, as usual. Can you imagine rooting for Hamas just 2 weeks after they murdered 14 innocent citizens? If you take out the population and extrapolate it out, that would be the equivalent of 38,000 plus Americans being killed in a single day. And tonight, virtually no one on the left is ready or willing or capable of telling the truth about this conflict. Hamas is very popular among Palestinians living inside of Gaza, but it receives the bulk of the funding and organization from Iran, including the military planning, including the rockets. And so do similar terror groups in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria, and Lebanon, where Hezbollah is launching a near constant stream of rockets into Israel. I've been there. I've been on the Gaza border. I've been to the neighborhoods, what they call a kibbutz, where rockets had hit one town in particular, 10,000 of them in a period of 10 years. So I would say Gaza can no longer be that launching pad. That has to be one of the military goals of Israel at this time. And unlike Joe Biden, well, the prime minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is very clear about what must be done to defend his country. He has moral clarity, something missing with most American leaders today. Take a look.
If Hezbollah goes to war with Israel, it will make the mistake of its life. We will cripple it with a force it cannot even imagine, and the consequences for it and the Lebanese state will be devastating.
Israel must do whatever it takes to ensure its existence and protecting its citizenry, including taking off the head of the snake. Now, for far too long, the mullahs of Iran, #1 state sponsors of terror, they have enjoyed relative safety and comfort while they sow chaos, murder, terror, violence all throughout the world. But those days could soon be numbered. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.